Hey everybody, Rob here. It's time for a couple new entitled parent stories. First one, my mom thinks my sister is entitled to my grandparents' will. Let's jump right in. Hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. So this is a generally long story dating back about 8 or 9 years ago from the beginning until now. So, bit of context and backstory here. My father's side of the family, Nanny and Granddaddy, are quite wealthy and well off. They own practically an entire city. The land belonged to my grandfather's parents and was split between him and his 2 siblings, all adopted. This left him about $2.8 billion in worth after he passed away in 2017. So my sister and I were pretty well off in our financial areas in life, as were my half-brother and all of our cousins, second cousins, and our aunt and dad. So come about 9 years or so ago, my sister set out for college, which she could attend for about 2 years on her own because of her grades. Our mom gave her her car, Mom's, and my grandparents decided to graciously pay for all of my sister's expenses. Her apartment, her food, her transportation, any extra classes she was supposed to take or wanted to take, and in general, everything she needed or wanted. So throughout about 4 or 5 years of college, they paid for her switching classes 2 or 3 times, sent her checks monthly for food and transportation, bought her books for her, and gave her an extra in case she needed it. She chose to spend almost all of this money going out and partying with her friends, taking them out to expensive restaurants for dinner, and hauling them around wherever they wanted to go. Well, sometime in between her years there, she got $12,000 back from something that happened there. Housing payment rolled back, I think, not sure. That belonged to my grandparents. She wasted all of that partying and living it up with her friends without ever bothering to ask who it belonged to or checking in with anybody first. My grandparents weren't happy about the money she stole from them. She was supposed to send it back to them. By the end of her college, when she was supposed to graduate, everyone came to visit her. All of our great aunts, great uncles, cousins, a lot of people. We're talking maybe 20 people. Most of them were elderly, and many didn't even live in our state. They had to fly and book hotels and extra transport costs. Pretty sure my grandparents paid for all of that for them to celebrate her graduation. And this included my grandma and grandpa themselves. My grandpa was strapped to an oxygen tank and wasn't able to move much. He was wheelchair bound and his health was already ailing by the time she graduated. And her college was high up in the mountains, so it wasn't easy for him to be there to begin with, let alone the 9-hour drive it took to get up there for them and everyone else who came. So they all attended her graduation, and my sister had a mental breakdown, conveniently, and decided to say F everyone else. She talked to our dad and his wife, and that was it. She blew everyone else off. She wouldn't talk to our grandparents. She wouldn't talk to anyone else who came up to see her. She just ignored all of them and left the campus. I spent time with my grandparents and some of our great aunts and uncles in her stead because holy hell, she was so fucking rude. I even hate her for that. And then I left with our mom to help her finish packing the apartment up so she could move back down. Well, our grandparents and family had a special party planned for her, and she knew this, but instead of going to see any of them or even attending her part, that they paid a lot of money to set up for her, she went to visit our dad instead, and then left back towards the city, completely bypassing them all and didn't give a single f about it. So she ends up a little ways down the road getting a boyfriend. Our grandparents on mom's side of the family had already cut her off. Grandma was your typical, extremely racist old German woman. Grandpa had already died of cancer long before any of this. And Nanny and Granddaddy were the only ones left she could show him off to. So we all went to visit them, and we went out to eat, and Nanny actually started talking shit about her right in her face while she was there, completely ignoring her existence, and went off about how she stole their money and how angry they were because of how disrespectful she had been to them, which I wholeheartedly agree with. My sister got pissy and threw a tantrum and started crying. Mom started getting pissy and lying about how it was her money and not my grandparents', and that ended rather poorly. So my sister stopped visiting them because my grandma refused to give her any money when she visited, but always gave me some. She used to always give us a few hundred for visiting and got very angry when I mentioned that Mom made me give my sister at least 100 to 200 of whatever Nanny gave me after each visit after she cut my sister off. So Nanny told me to stop letting them know I had money from her, which, granted, was hard to do because she always gave me the money and everyone knew it. But I guess she jumped on my mom about it because my mom stopped demanding I share eventually. They took it as offensive, or at least Nanny did, and that only made them angrier. Over the course of 2 or 3 more years, my grandpa's health got worse slowly, and while I'd like to believe he forgave her, or at least moved on and let it go, my grandma didn't. Eventually, October 2017 rolled around, and my grandpa was dying. My sister finally went back to visit them, and this was only because he was dying, and we forced her to come with us. He was kind to everyone, even her, and he passed away on the 17th, a few days after we had last visited. He had cut his oxygen supply off and let himself go after all family had gotten to say goodbye for the last time. So it was just Nanny now, and every time I visited her, I swear, she was going off about my sister stealing and being disrespectful, and how my mom was trying to cover for her. And I knew, it wasn't anything new to me, but eventually I did try to tell her gently that it wasn't worth clinging to, because it would only make her unhappy and miserable if she did. Money isn't everything, and they helped me see that over the years, so I tried to get her to lay off a bit and let it go. But she didn't want to. Well, Granddaddy had a will that granted all of us, my sister included, roughly $150,000 to $280,000 in a trust fund that will continue to grow over the years, will be accessible after Nanny dies. And I guess she still hasn't let this go 3 years later, because we just got a letter in the mail saying that Nanny removed my sister from the will. I don't blame her for it. My sister is a real piece of work. She's money hungry, spoiled, just bad in general. She's our mom's little angel, so she gets away with everything and never cares about it. But my mom got so angry about it that she actually threatened to sue my grandma for removing my sister off the will. And later, after calling my grandma and chickening out of going off on her because Nanny is just one of those people you don't want to piss off, she demanded that I share my portion of the will with my sister. I told her no. She's an idiot. My sister deserved this, and I'll never see it as otherwise. She only ever visited for money. She never bothered to speak to them. Whether they accepted her warmly or not didn't matter. She was extremely rude and never felt any remorse for her actions. I don't blame her for removing my sister. It's her money, and her right to remove my sister if she wants to. My mom is stupid for wanting to fight her in court over it. My mom never seen a problem with how disrespectful and rude my sister had been and continues to be, and that's why she was removed. My grandma says Granddaddy did it before he passed. Whether that's true or not, I doubt it honestly, but in any case, I don't blame her. My sister is like my parents. Both are money hungry, rude, and uncaring people. It sounds to me like if you looked in a dictionary under entitled, you might see a picture of OP's sister. This story was the embodiment of entitled. On to our next story. Entitled parent can't handle his daughter being scolded at work. Let's jump right in. A little bit of a background. When I was in college, I used to help my dad on his business when I had school breaks or when one of his employees would have their vacation. My dad would give one employee at a time 15 days any time of the year, plus 15 days during Christmas and New Year's as a collective vacation for everyone. One of his employees was due to have her vacation, and therefore, I shadowed her for almost a week to learn the basics of what she did, so I could cover for her for the next 15 days. It was pretty easy to cover for her and still do my own work at the office, no problem. At least it should be easy. You see, this employee who was taking a vacation, I'll call her Alice, was the BFF of another employee, I'll call her Tia, and they were pretty close. Nothing against it, my dad has several employees who know me since I was a child, and they're all pretty close too. It was never a problem, at least before Alice and Tia, of course. When Alice took her vacation, Tia started missing work at the same time. And it wasn't like just a day or two. The whole 15 days that Alice took her leave, Tia missed work. So I wasn't just doing my job and Alice's job, now I had to do Tia's job too. My dad wasn't happy, neither I or the other employees that worked with us at the office, but he didn't call her or anything because, according to him, she was a big girl. She was a little older than me, mid-20s I think, if anything, and should know her responsibilities. He wasn't her father to tell her what to do. but we all knew she wasn't coming because Alice wasn't here for the next 15 days. They're that close. Okay, we worked our ass off during that 1.5 weeks when Alice comes back and, ta-da, next day, Tia is also back at work, like nothing ever happened. The same day, my dad didn't even have the grace to ask us politely to leave the office so he could talk to Tia about her behavior. He tore her a new one right then and there. This is what I remember and what I heard before leaving the office with everyone to take a walk around the company while he was having his little chat. Oh, glad to have you with us again, Tia. I've been an employer for many years, and I had many employees over the years, some good, some bad, but never ever in all those years I had such a childish behavior towards my office. What made you think it was okay to miss work while Alice was on her leave? If you don't like to work for me, you should say so instead of wasting my time and money, because you clearly do not care about this office or your colleagues. And he said more and more stuff that I didn't catch it. One thing you guys may want to know is that my dad ain't the type of boss that doesn't appreciate his employees. They all win chocolate eggs during Easter, really nice Panettones during Christmas. Hell, my dad even pays a masseuse to rub their backs every 2 weeks. So it really bothers him when this appreciation goes unnoticed or worse. After 5 to 10-ish minutes, we go back to the office and Tia is nowhere to be seen. Dad said she went to cry in the bathroom. I wish I could say I was sorry for her, but we busted our asses while she decided to miss work just because her BFF wasn't coming. We go back to work as normal, Tia still in the bathroom, when our office phone rings. Maria, the other employee, picked up and told it was for my dad. Cue entitled parent. This is just what my dad told us as soon as he hung out, so I took the liberty to transcribe more or less what the conversation was about. Who the hell you think you are talking to my daughter like that? Excuse me, who's calling? I'm Tia's father, and you had no right to talk to her like that. You gotta be kidding me, right? You're telling me that if she was your employee and acted like a spoiled child, like she did with me, it was okay? Doesn't give you the right to humiliate her like that. I'm sorry if you failed as a parent to give that girl some education or teach her about responsibilities, but that ain't happening in my office. If she's so unhappy, she can leave. Honestly, it's going to be a favor if she does that. Now, if you have nothing better to say or do, I have an office to take care of. Don't call again, and have a good day. Things got pretty awkward with her every time my dad was around. He had 2 companies at the time, so he wasn't there all the time or even every day, and Tia actually quit after 1 or 2 months. Sorry if this ain't your "my precious angel should have this and you're gonna give it to him or her or I'll call the police" type of story, but I don't know many EPs, which is good. Do you mean to tell me that Tia no-called no-showed for over 2 weeks and still had a job afterwards? Holy crap, OP, your dad is a pushover. I want to thank both OPs for posting their stories to the Entitled Parents subreddit. You can visit them at the links in the description below. Please go there and give them an upvote. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.